Let's get to Rich Eisen, popular host of NFL Network and the Rich Eisen Show, available on Roku. Rich on the call. Dolphins Chiefs from Germany. That'll be Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Dan Orlovsky and Jason McCourty will be part of the broadcast. And Rich joins us now. Let me hit you with the first question. Do the Steelers know what they have in Kenny Pickett?
I think what they have in Kenny Pickett, yeah, they have a kid who's still, learning, growing, and has a knack in the fourth quarter that if he's close, he's going to get it done. It's kind of like Pickett time in the fourth quarter. So keep it close. They've got a great defense. They don't take nearly as many risks as maybe they should with such a great defense. They play it close to the vest. And in terms of what they have with Kenny Pickett is just a guy who's still learning. I mean, I had Jared Goff on my show the other day, Dan, and I said, you're the perfect guy to ask. How long do you think it takes for a quarterback to be evaluated?
Yeah.
I mean, when he went to Detroit, we all know everybody thought he was basically being excommunicated there. And Detroit, if they were ever going to get good, would probably have to go with somebody else. At least that was the general sense of things. And look at him now. He said 3 years. I just don't think that may be realistic in this day and age. But so I think that's what they think they have in Pickett.
Yeah, it feels like they give you 2 years. It used to be 3 years, and then these rookies in their third year would get to play. They held them out for at least 1 year. It was rare when it didn't start. But I'm not sure what they have. But that offense has been bad. Pickett's thrown for 275 or more once in his career. He's thrown for multiple touchdowns once in his career. Is it him? Is it the system? They do have some offensive weapons there. Is it the offensive coordinator?
I think you ask a Steeler fan, they give you the answer who it is.
Yes.
They blame Canada like it's, South Park, or Team America. So bottom line is, does it matter, I guess, at this point in time? I guess it matters if you're going to end up taking on either one of the teams that I'm going to be seeing here in Germany. You're going to end up having to put up 21, maybe 28 to win a football game. Yeah. And that seems to be a challenge for them. But right now, despite being outpointed or outgained, right? I think I saw that on Schefter's Twitter account today that they're the only team in the history of the NFL to be outgained as much as they've been outgained through 8 games to have a winning record through those 8.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to the defense and probably Tomlin, I would say.
All right, give me the storyline. Obviously a marquee matchup that you have in Germany, but what do you think the one storyline is, the major one is?
I think the major storyline is this Dolphins offense against the Chiefs defense, because the Chiefs defense has been the unit that has this team at 6-2, which is remarkable to say when there's Mahomes and Kelsey on the offensive side. But it has been Spagnuolo's defense that has carried the day so far for the Chiefs. And they're known for playing man-to-man coverage. And we had our production meeting with Tyreek Hill yesterday and asked him if he expects to see man coverage, and he smiled. So that's it right there, is how will this Chiefs defense cause Tua to hold the ball for the proverbial extra second? And if they do play man defense, what happens when their former teammate comes in? We had a conversation as a production staff with Travis Kelce yesterday, and I even said to him, hey, are you telling any of these young kids on your defense, there's a ton of first and second year players on that defense in the back end who were not on the team when Tyreek Hill was practicing against them, like, hey, do you tell them, get ready, because there's no simulating this? And he laughed and he's like, I believe in my guys. He gave the I believe in my God speech, but he understands. And I think everybody who has a set of eyes understands what happens when the cheetah gets out there. And he'll be there, and that's the key, I think, to this game.
But there's fast, and then there's fast guy. When a fast guy says Tyreek Hill is fast, like that, then it resonates with me, because there's a lot of guys who are fast, but there are guys in the NFL who are really fast, and then they talk about Tyreek Hill fast.
Like there's no simulating it in practice. There's no getting ready for it. There's just only experiencing it when you see it. And we just came back from our meeting with Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins It was just awesome chatting with him too, Dan, just to, get to hear him talk and his philosophies and things of that nature. And the thing that he talked about Tyreek Hill, not just his speed, but was his smartness, his brilliance in understanding the game, and how he worked on fundamentals this off season that he's putting into play right now. And I asked him what he meant by that. And he talked about how he could position his feet pre-snap and also read defenses in a certain way, with the understanding that Tua is trying to, on the fly, adjust to the fastest player in the game and what he's doing. And how there's a connectivity between Hill and Tua that didn't exist last year. And I think we're seeing it. And again, that's why I choose this as the key to Sunday's game.
Rich Eisen, NFL Network host. He'll be on the call with Dan Orlovsky, Jason McCourty. That will be Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern from Germany. He, of course, is the host of the Rich Eisen Show on Roku. How did the Raiders fix the Raiders?
Oh, gosh. Great question. I think what they did on Tuesday was a start, that it clearly wasn't working. And fixing it is to find, I think, the right coach, general manager combination. And the one that I mentioned on my show, if I was the owner of any team in the AFC West, my first order of business when interviewing a head coach is, how are you going to stop Patrick Mahomes? How are you going to keep the Chiefs from beating our brains in? And the guy I think that might have the answer to that is Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator in Cincinnati. He's the one who has actually done this and done it effectively. And, he also is from Staten Island, my hometown, and also a hometown of your wife's, and maybe the guy whose dad sounded like he was straight out of Brooklyn, because he was, might actually want to go to that sort of mentality, that sort of system. And a guy who's like, I know how to beat Mahomes, or at least do my best. Let's figure out a way offensively to find the right quarterback, because I think for sure it ain't Jimmy G, and start from there. It's very easier said than done, but that would be my plan if I'm Mark Davis.
The tricky part with this, when we elevate a coordinator, yes, they deserve it or they should get an interview. Not everybody should be a head coach. Josh McDaniels is not a head coach. He's a coordinator. And to be a head coach, you got to be a CEO. And not everybody can do it. You can be a coordinator and be it's like being a pitching coach, where you go, man, Leo Mazzoni's an unbelievable pitching coach, but he's not, Bobby Cox. Sometimes you know what you do well, and then we try to elevate you and to go, hey, Eric Bieniemy deserves a chance. Okay, deserves a chance to be interviewed, but is he going to be a head coach? I think we hire people sometimes who aren't ready to do it, or they're just not capable of doing it, even though they're really good at being an offensive or defensive coordinator.
And I guess that is the key of what you would have to unearth when you're doing these interviews. Again, just having met with McDaniel, obviously that's in my mind because it was just about an hour and a half ago. Clearly, he understands the scheme and football. He was talking about how he was focused on being a head coach in the NFL when he's called it obsessed when he was 4 years old, is what he said. He just remembers that's all he's wanted to do. So clearly he has a brilliance when it comes to scheming. The question was, what about the CEO portion of it, as you mentioned, the relating to players portion of it? And he, at one point in time, when Jason McCourty, who is part of the team, as you mentioned, talked about scheme and how that's worked with Tua, he stopped. This is what it was. How he said that the Chiefs defense, McDaniel said, is excellent at so many other things, but they haven't seen everything yet, is what he said. And he kind of looked, as McDaniel would, comedically around the room. And I even said, like, that sounds like a line that deserves some theme music to it. And McCourty followed up, assuming he meant scheme, and McDaniel stopped him and he said, actually, what I was talking about that the Chiefs haven't seen is an accurate thrower of the football who throws left-handed. And he pushed back, saying it's the players that make this work, and it's him as a coach whose job it is to make them great in their small window of time. Yeah. And how he takes the responsibility on himself for the players. And we were kind of sitting there, even Stacey Dales, who is part of our broadcast team. And when I say even Stacey Dales, I'm referring to the fact that she, a great player at Oklahoma, her jersey's in the rafters, and is somebody who spent many successful years in the WNBA. She said she never had a coach who sounded like McDaniel when she was in the pros, and how she would have loved to have played for someone like him. Now, the question is how did the Dolphins know that that's that sort of guy that you're referring to, Dan, right? Like, he sounds like he's got everything as a coordinator, but what about, or a schemer, what about that portion? And I don't know if he showed that to Stephen Ross in a meeting or whatever, but he's got it. And the question is, how do you determine that? You're right. It's a key question.
I'll leave you with this. Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk put this out there a couple of days ago that could he see the Commanders trading for Bill Belichick?
Right.
And Belichick come in and, the new owner, I think Ron Rivera will be replaced. But if you brought in Belichick, Lombardi ended his career in Washington, D.C., but could you see Bill Belichick wanting this challenge and that they would trade for him?
Well, I'm seeing him here next week. We're sticking around in Germany for Colts and Patriots. I'll try and glean that for you, but I don't imagine he'll wear it on his sleeve, DP. But
is he different though, Rich, in those production meetings? If you're there with Belichick, is he a little more effusive where
I have not had a production meeting with him. I did spend 2 days with him on the set of the NFL 100 and NFL Films, and he was just a dynamite, awesome storyteller and completely different from the guy that you see on the podium, 100%. But my only sense of it is if the Commanders' actions of the trade deadline were in fact born out of some form of Moneyball or some sort of, the process that Josh Harris has brought from Philadelphia. That's a general sense amongst the, information community that there were some number crunchers and let's get more draft picks, as opposed to hanging on to the players that you hope your draft picks are going to turn into in Sweat and Chase Young. That if this is the philosophy that is in fact ruling the Commanders' decision-making, is that a spot that Belichick wants to go to? I don't know. There's a lot to come out in the wash here. But I don't know the answer to that question. Obviously, nobody does. I find it hard to believe Belichick anywhere else, quite frankly, but we'll see. You know what? We were talking about this on the car ride over to the Dolphins facility with Wembanyama doing what he did last night. And Belichick must be looking around saying, how do I get one of them, in my final years as coaching like Popovich got? Can he get Caleb Williams? Can I get Caleb Williams, like the same way that Pop got Wembanyama? So again, we don't know how this is going to play out for the Patriots and what draft choice they're going to hold and anything like that. But if they're making decisions based on, well, let's play Moneyball, let's get all these draft choices. I don't know if that's Bill's bag or not.
Good to talk to you. Thank you, buddy.
Same to you, DP. Yeah. Thanks, brother.
All right. Rich Eisen will be on the call, NFL Network. It'll be 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and that'll be the Dolphins and the Chiefs. Dan Orlovsky, Jason McCourty, and Rich Eisen show Monday through Friday from noon to 3 Eastern on Roku channel. And it's the 20th anniversary of NFL Network this Saturday.